from the station you count on. In-depth investigative coverage of today's biggest stories. This is KARK 4 News at 10 in high definition.
Good evening to you, and thanks for choosing KARK 4 News tonight. I'm Jessica Dean.
Hello and good evening. I'm Bob Clausen. Little Rock police actively searching an area where an inmate says missing Little Rock businessman John Glasgow is buried. This is the area here. It is just across Pulaski County line along a portion here called Old Dirt Road, right along this section here. It's along Highway 61, just off Highway 61, 161 rather. Now, at first, we're not releasing the exact location so as not to jeopardize the investigation, but as you can see now, police are protecting that area just outside of England. We believe a search in that area will likely continue tomorrow as well, and we're going to keep you updated on that. KRK4's Lauren Traeger has been following this investigation for months now. She's here now with the latest.
Well, Bob, that they're searching that area is no real surprise to us. We've spoken with the inmate who's been leading police to that location. He says he knows that John Glasgow was murdered and that his body was buried there. Now, though, of course, we don't know yet if this search will yield anything. This new information providing at least a little bit of hope for a family devastated by the disappearance of John Glasgow.
It's like a sore that never healed.
4 years later, and Roger Glasgow says he still thinks of his best friend, his brother, John Glasgow, every day.
He was a great family man. He valued family over everything else, and we'll never forget him.
In 2008, John Glasgow reportedly drove away from his home one morning and hasn't been seen or heard from since. His car, found on Petit Jean Mountain, wiped clean of any evidence. In the meantime, Roger says he's heard some wild stories, but none seem to pan out until maybe now.
You learn to be pretty skeptical about these stories over this period of time, and it sounded bizarre, really. But as I learned more about it, it did seem to make more sense. Law enforcement thinks there could possibly be something to it because they've been working on it pretty hard.
Roger says he's known for some time what we reported Wednesday, that law enforcement is actively investigating information provided to them by this man, John Bronner. Wednesday, I spoke exclusively with Bronner behind bars at the Faulkner County Jail, facing up to 20 years on a recent stalking conviction involving his ex-wife. Back in 2009, KARK was the only station to watch as he pleaded guilty to robbery in what some called a kidnapping gone wrong. Wednesday, Bronner told me he did not kill Glasgow, but was asked after the fact to help bury him by those who did.
I find that hard to believe. I mean, that someone would come out and recruit him to go and help bury a person that had been murdered. That's really bizarre.
Roger is skeptical that Bronner has given the whole story, but now only time will tell if he's telling the truth at all. Law enforcement, Roger confirms, is planning an extensive search of the area where Bronner says Glasgow's body is buried. This, perhaps, will bring them one step closer to closure. Their greatest hope
is that this mystery gets solved one way or the other. It's been a long time. We'd like to come to some kind of closure on this. It will always hurt, but it hurts a lot more if you don't know what happened.
Now, first and foremost, Roger tells me that they are hoping they do find a body out there so they can have a proper burial for John, get some closure. They have long believed that he is dead and not just a missing person. And then if they do find them and they do in fact confirm that he has been murdered, they hope to find the people responsible and bring them to justice. Of course, we'll stay with this story, bring you more as soon as it develops. Back to you.
All right, Lauren Traeger for us tonight. Thanks, Lauren. Meantime, local law enforcement on high alert tonight. 3 times in the past 2 days, Pulaski County Sheriff's deputies have encountered suspects with weapons. All of them situations that could become dangerous quickly. A national website tracking officer deaths shows they're up 25% so far this year. And just keep in mind, we're only 12 days in. KARK4's Brittany Johnson spoke with sheriff's deputies about what they're seeing in the streets of central Arkansas. And Brittany, last year alone, 164 officers died in the line of duty.
A really tragic number, Jessica, and deputies tell us now that you would be surprised that right now, more than ever it seems, as they're making their routine traffic stops, they're coming across deadly weapons.
burglary suspect in front of me, and
driving on patrol in Pulaski County is like picking through a box of chocolates.
When you stop somebody, you just never know.
But not as sweet.
The traffic stop is probably the most dangerous part of our job.
This week, while trying to pull over cars for simple infractions like speeding or license plate infractions, these reports show deputies ended up finding weapons.
These are weapons that, could ultimately be used against law enforcement or just citizens in general.
When deputies spotted a car coming out of this car wash, police flipped their light because the vehicle's headlights were out. But instead of stopping, the driver fled, throwing a gun and drugs out the window. Little did police know a rifle was also inside, a potential danger this training officer tries to prepare deputies for.
It's a trend that we're seeing, not just locally, but it's a national trend. I mean, you're seeing a lot of officers that are being assaulted. A lot of people will evade the police and run. A lot of times people are actually deciding to engage the police.
In those instances, he trains deputies on what to look for and when to use one of these items on their continuum of force. Right now, deputies are adding these new updated tasers to their arsenal of weapons, along with pepper spray, batons, and deadly force, their guns.
You just want the guys to be on their toes.
They say national trends and local reports don't scare them. They prepare and force them to be aware.
Violent crime is on the rise. We know that. Sooner or later, that violent crime and that violence is going to spill over against a law enforcement officer. We've been lucky so far.
And Jessica, tonight we can gladly report that so far in the county, they haven't had any officer-involved incidents this year. Back to you.
All right, hopefully that trend continues. Thanks, Brittany. And new at 10 tonight, Arkansas Tech students headed back to class, but theater majors not getting the warmest welcome. The school is canceling all of the spring plays there. School officials from that Russellville campus sent out a statement today saying their decision is based on student safety. You might remember last semester they closed the theater space due to poor conditions. Now they don't have a permanent alternative, and some students need to participate in those performances to receive credits.
An arrest made in a bizarre Fayetteville kidnapping and extortion attempt. It tops other stories making headlines this evening. Paul Bradley was taken into police custody late Wednesday night and faces multiple charges, including aggravated burglary and robbery. Investigators believe Bradley kidnapped an elderly couple, Herbert and Betty Davis, in rural Washington County on Monday. Authorities say the man taped the husband up and forced the wife to strap what he said was a bomb to her leg and then walk into a Fayetteville bank. That device turned out to not be a bomb, was not explosive.
I do have a great faith in God, and I was praying, and he heard my prayers.
During a press conference today, Sheriff Tim Helder offered new details in the case. He says Herbert knew the suspect through a casual acquaintanceship at a Fayetteville coffee shop, Rick's Iron Skillet. Helder says the break in the case came when they recovered Davis's truck and found surveillance video of Bradley buying the materials he used to tie Herbert up.
And new information tonight in a deadly hazmat spill. State police say a Texas truck driver was killed when his truck rolled on Interstate 30. It all happened last night near Malvern. That truck was carrying nearly 6,000 gallons of a solvent similar to nail polish remover. The interstate was closed for 12 hours while crews cleaned up that spill. And we talked to several drivers today who say safety always their top priority.
The number one thing, get plenty of rest, my friend, and just stay focused. And just try to maintain. Pay attention to what you're doing.
Deal with traffic and weather condition, and try don't ruin anybody's life and all stuff like that.
The Department of Transportation says there are 800,000 hazmat shipments on U.S. roads every day.
After months of facing public scrutiny and questions of what's the point, the Occupy movement may finally have a reason to believe it's being heard. A just released Pew Research Center study shows 66% of American adults surveyed believe there were strong tensions between the poor and wealthy over inequality in America. That's a 20% jump in just 2 years, which researchers are attributing to the Occupy movement's message.
I don't think there's anything wrong with being rich. I mean, you work hard, you get what you earn. That's great. It's more about the monetary and political influence that's ruining our country.
While Americans are split on perceptions of the wealthy being born to privilege or working hard, the new survey shows the greatest consensus on a social conflict issue since 1992 when immigration took center stage. Little Rock occupiers plan to keep the awareness campaign going. There are 3 different public events they have planned for their campsite over the next few weeks.
Now, from KARK4, your weather authority, Chief Meteorologist Keith Monahan.
Well, good Thursday evening, everybody. If you had any doubts this was winter, today removed all those doubts. Although, if you were up just after midnight, about 1 o'clock in the morning, high temperature for the day was 48. And that actually wasn't the daytime high. During the daylight hours, we only made it to 36 this afternoon. Low actually is our current temperature of 28 degrees. Our averages are 50 and 31. No precipitation here, but we did have some areas of light snow well north of Interstate 40. In fact, those areas that did see a bit of snow, north central, northwest Arkansas, it's already cold outside. It's down to 20 at Fayetteville. You folks in the northwest part of the state, you'll be headed down to around 10 degrees tonight. We've got 32 degrees right now at Russellville, 28 at Stuttgart, and 31 degrees at Hot Springs. In Little Rock, Hot Springs, I should say. In Little Rock, we have clear skies. Our current temperature stands at 28 degrees. Humidity is 58%. Winds are southwest at 6 miles per hour. The barometer 30.13. It's high and rising with Arctic high pressure just off to our west. Now here's a look at how cold it feels outside when you factor in those low temperatures along with the wind. That's the effect that your skin feels as far as coldness is concerned. Right now those wind chills down into the low teens across the northern part of the state. It feels like 22 here in Little Rock, 30 in Monticello. But overnight tonight, although winds will be dropping off, those temperatures will be dropping as well. So by tomorrow morning, the wind chill up in Harrison will be 2 degrees above zero. It's going to feel like 14 here in Little Rock, and it's going to feel like 15 in Pine Bluff. Needless to say, bundle the kids up tomorrow morning and bundle yourself up. But by afternoon, we have a bit of a respite from the really cold and windy conditions we saw today. Clear skies for much of the state right now. Some lingering clouds over northeast Arkansas. Those will continue to move away tonight as that storm system that brought in the colder air continues to move eastward. We have high pressure building in across the southern plains of the United States. That will keep it cool during the day tomorrow, although not as cold as today. The coldest core of the air will be moving eastward toward the Ohio River Valley. For tomorrow, we're expecting just some high clouds moving through with a disturbance. Temperatures back up into the 40s. And again, winds not as strong as today. But by the weekend, that high pressure sinks to the Gulf of Mexico. Clockwise flow around that high will turn the winds to the west and southwest. We're going to warm it up to the 50s to around 60 degrees for Saturday and Sunday. But not too far behind, we'll have another chance of rain for Monday. Behind that system, just some modified Arctic air, so we won't see the cool down quite as cold as we saw today. For tonight, though, clear skies. On the thermometer, it'll say 22 by morning, but again, it's going to feel much colder with the breeze. For tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, not quite as cold as today. Look for a high of 45. Next 7 days, we're going to see those temperatures recovering up to near 60 degrees on Saturday with sunny skies. Sunday, a few more clouds, 56 degrees. And then as we head into Monday, we're looking at a 60% chance of showers, maybe a thunderstorm, 65. This only happens in Arkansas. We go from around 20 to 65 in a matter of 3 days. And then it looks like we're going to see those temperatures back just a little bit, upper 40s to mid 50s for the middle of next week. No severe weather expected, by the way, with that system on Monday. And of course, when you're not by the TV, you get our forecast on the Edge 100.3.
It's like a bouncing ball of temperatures. You know, it goes down, comes right back up.
Super bouncing balls that go way low and way high.
Yeah.
And one of the concerns is, although you cleared it up, when we go from that cold to that warm, sometimes people are concerned about severe weather.
Yeah.
Right. In this case, we're not expecting it this time around.
It's a little rain.
Yeah, little rain.
Keith, thanks very much.
Okay.
Still ahead, honored tonight for his service in one of America's deadliest rescue attempts. We salute an airman involved in Operation Eagle Claw. Plus,
I want to get my life back. I want to be healthy. I want to be a good example for my daughter. She's 8. You only get one life, and you should try to live it in a healthy manner.
An Arkansas woman fighting to get that Biggest Loser experience. We're going to tell you how you can help. These stories and more in just 60 seconds.
This is KARK4 News at 10 in high definition with Bob Clausen, Jessica Dean, Chief Meteorologist Keith Monahan, and Sports with Carrie O'Hara.